Sophia Lynn was never the kind of woman who lost control easily. At 32, she had become the head architect of a sustainable urban design firm in San Francisco, where every decision demanded precision and foresight. For Sophia, control wasn't just a choice, it was a way of life. But on one Tuesday afternoon, a single phone call threatened to shake that carefully built world apart. The name Grandma May lit up her phone screen. Sophia sighed before answering, already used to how her grandmother's words often sounded less like suggestions and more like commands wrapped in love. "Are you free this weekend?" Grandma May's voice came through, firm and unwavering. Sophia glanced at the stacks of blueprints and models covering her desk. "I have a lot of drafts to finish, Grandma." "Why?" "Do you remember the Tran family from the old neighborhood?" her grandmother asked, her tone lined with authority. "Their son, Anthony Tran, is now a heart surgeon at Stanford. Recently divorced, but mature, steady, and very successful. His family hopes he'll find someone who can balance work and family. I've arranged for you and Anthony to meet this Saturday evening." Sophia nearly spilled her coffee. "Grandma, I'm not taking no for an answer. You've been working late, coming home alone, no man in sight. The whole family is worried. It's time you settled down." Sophia bit her lip. She loved her job, loved the way her designs could reshape the city into something greener. But she also knew Grandma May never compromised when it came to family and happiness. In a flash of panic, Sophia blurted out, "Grandma, actually, I'm already dating someone. I have a boyfriend." Silence filled the line, broken only by the ticking clock on the wall. Then her grandmother's voice cut through, sharp as a blade. "Then I expect to meet him. Saturday, 6 p.m. sharp, Sophia." The call ended. Sophia sat frozen, her heartbeat crashing like aftershocks of an earthquake. She hadn't just misspoken, she had trapped herself. 3 days to conjure a flesh-and-blood boyfriend. And in that desperate list of possible saviors, only one name remained: Daniel Carter. Daniel, her best friend since college, now the CEO of a rising renewable energy startup. He had saved her from countless scrapes before, pretending to be her date at a tense Christmas back home, sneaking her out of a wedding she was never supposed to attend. He was the only person she trusted enough to drag into this madness. But this time was different. For the first time, Sophia felt not only out of control, but also as if she were stepping into a dangerous game, one where her own heart might end up at stake. That night, in her warmly lit studio surrounded by unfinished sketches, Sophia lifted her phone, took a deep breath, and dialed Daniel's number. "Daniel." Her voice trembled. "I need you. Be my boyfriend. For the next 3 days." That late-night call ended quickly, but Sophia barely slept. Relief mixed with dread. Daniel had agreed, but she wasn't sure what kind of storm she had just dragged him into. In her memory, Daniel had always been the one to show up at the right time, like a lifeline in chaos. But this time, it wasn't just a harmless charade. This was Grandma May, a woman who could see through every lie. The next morning, as Sophia tried to bury herself in blueprints to momentarily forget her predicament, a short message from Daniel lit up her phone. "Lunch. Your office. We need to plan this out." She exhaled deeply. The game had officially begun. Daniel Carter arrived at Sophia's office 7 minutes late. For Sophia, 7 minutes was practically a declaration of war. The door swung open, and Daniel walked in with his trademark half-smile, holding 2 mango smoothies. "Peace offering," he said, holding one out. So for the woman who called me at midnight and said, "I need you to be my boyfriend for the next 3 days." Sophia crossed her arms, shooting him a glare. I didn't have time to explain everything over the phone. Daniel set the smoothie down on her desk, cluttered with models and blueprints, then dropped into the chair across from her. So let me get this straight. Your grandmother wants to meet your imaginary boyfriend, and I've been cast as the lead role? You're the only person I trust not to make this worse, Sophia replied flatly. Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. God, Lynn. After all these years, you're still dragging me into your wildest dramas. Sophia sighed. If it isn't you, then who? Grandma May will crush me if she finds out I lied. Daniel leaned back, silent for a beat, then raised an eyebrow mischievously. Fine, but we need a contract. A contract? Of course. Fake love requires rules, clear boundaries, keeps us from getting too method. He pulled out his iPad and started typing. Sophia leaned closer, reading aloud as if reviewing a legal document. Clause 1. No real kissing unless family is present. Clause 2. Must use endearing nicknames in public. Clause 3. Minimum 3 joint appearances per week to maintain believability. Clause 4. Absolutely no sharing a bed. Sophia arched a brow. Clause 4 sounds a little self-congratulatory, Carter. Daniel smirked. Just mitigating risks. They both laughed, but beneath the laughter, a strange silence crept in. Sophia's gaze wavered, and Daniel's lingered a moment too long. Something unspoken hovered between them, yet neither dared to name it. Sophia cleared her throat, slicing through the tension. Saturday, 6 p.m., white shirt, no t-shirts. Grandma has a sixth sense for sloppiness. Daniel raised a hand in mock salute. Noted, girlfriend. She shot him a glare. Don't get used to that word. Practice makes perfect, he winked. Love takes rehearsal, right? Sophia didn't answer, but deep inside something stirred. Small, uncertain, like background music rising before a scene neither of them saw coming. Saturday came faster than Sophia had imagined. She barely had time to prepare, buried in blueprints, long meetings, and dozens of unanswered emails. But no matter how busy she was, the thought of tonight's family dinner clung to her like a shadow she couldn't shake off. At 5:30 in the evening, Sophia stood before the mirror, adjusting her jade-green silk dress. Usually, it made her feel both elegant and powerful. Tonight, it only magnified her tension. At precisely 1 minute to 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Sophia drew a deep breath and walked quickly to open the door. Daniel stood there, tall, polished, crisp in a white shirt, with not a wrinkle in sight. In his hands, a bouquet of pink tulips and a small silver-wrapped box. For your grandmother, he said gently, offering the flowers with a soft smile. And for you, he added, handing her the dark chocolate truffles. Sophia let out a small laugh, though her heart beat faster than usual. You're dangerously good at this act. Daniel winked. Who said I was acting? The house was filled with the scent of jasmine and roasted ginger, the unmistakable signature of Lynn family dinners. Grandma May emerged from the kitchen, draped in a deep emerald velvet dress, her eyes sharp and commanding. You must be Daniel. Yes, ma'am. It's an honor to meet you, Daniel said, bowing slightly as he presented the tulips. Sophia was almost startled to see her grandmother's gaze soften, even if just a little. Grandma May rarely showed approval so easily. Through the dinner, Daniel surprised everyone. He spoke of renewable energy in words simple enough that even Sophia's 14-year-old cousin listened with wide eyes. He shifted to classic cinema, then shared a witty story about his disastrous first attempt at bao making in college. The table erupted in laughter, a rare sound at the usually stiff Lin family gatherings. Sophia sat quietly, observing. She had always known Daniel was brilliant, but she hadn't expected him to be so graceful, so effortless. In the glow of warm lights and ringing laughter, she found herself seeing him differently. Not as Daniel the best friend, not as Daniel the rescuer, who pulled her from countless messes, but Daniel, the man who seemed to draw the whole room toward him. When the dessert of lotus seed sweet soup was served, Daniel leaned in, his voice brushing her ear. "I think your grandmother's starting to like me." Sophia stifled a laugh into her chamomile tea. "Careful, if she likes you too much, I'll never escape this game. Then I guess I'll have to stay your boyfriend a little longer." The words, meant as playful, shifted the air between them. For a heartbeat, silence hung heavy, their eyes meeting longer than they should. "Sit closer, you two," Grandma May called suddenly. "I want a photo." Daniel slid an arm around Sophia's shoulder. She stiffened for a second before leaning gently into him. Click. The shutter echoed, distant yet intimate. In that frozen instant, Sophia could hear the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her shoulder. And without meaning to, she knew something was changing. The line between pretending and reality was dissolving faster than she could stop it. After the family dinner, nothing ended the way Sophia had hoped. On the contrary, Grandma May seemed even more taken with Daniel, sending messages to Sophia urging her to bring him to more family gatherings. "You're far too charming for your own good," Sophia grumbled as they left her grandmother's house that night. "Not my fault your grandma's already smitten with me." Daniel shrugged, that mischievous smile dancing across his face. From then on, the so-called fake boyfriend role stretched beyond one dinner. They started appearing together everywhere. A brunch with friends, a small networking event at Daniel's company, even a casual stroll through the weekend flower market. And with each passing moment, it became harder for Sophia to tell what was real and what wasn't. The peak came at Sophia's firm's gala, the grandest event before the launch of her new project. She stepped into the venue in an ivory silk gown, her hair swept back, her presence poised though her heart beat faster than usual. Daniel walked beside her in a classic black suit, his hand resting lightly at her back, as if it had always belonged there. The crowd seemed captivated. Compliments and whispers followed them. "They look perfect together. He really does seem in love with her." Sophia smiled politely, but deep inside something stirred. She had always been the strong, self-sufficient woman who needed no one. Yet when Daniel held her hand beneath the glow of chandeliers, she wanted, just for once, to believe this wasn't a game. The gala lasted until nearly midnight. As they stepped outside, Sophia tried hailing a taxi, only to find a long line stretching down the block. Everyone was waiting after the event. Just then, rain began to pour, splattering against the glowing street. "No car will make it in time," Daniel said, eyeing the traffic jam. "My apartment is only a few blocks away," Sophia replied with a sigh. "Then we walk." He slipped off his jacket and draped it over her head. "Come on." They dashed down the rain-slick streets, pressed close to avoid puddles, laughing and shouting over the storm. For a fleeting moment, they looked every bit the young lovers, unbothered by the world, bound only by laughter and heartbeat. By the time they reached Sophia's apartment, both were drenched. "You don't have to come up," Sophia said, fumbling with the keys, shivering from the cold. "You made me stand in the rain for 10 minutes. The least you can do is give me a dry towel, Daniel teased, shaking his head as droplets flew everywhere. Sophia laughed, handing him a towel and an old hoodie. Daniel pulled off his shirt, revealing a frame she had never seen so closely. She turned quickly away, her pulse racing. They sat on the sofa, hair still damp, beers in hand, as silence pressed down. Daniel's voice grew low, roughened. "Do you even know what we're doing anymore?" Sophia drew a breath, whispering, "The hugs, the smiles, the way you look at me. Sometimes I don't know if we're still pretending." Daniel's gaze locked with hers. "And you think I'm just acting?" She couldn't answer. The space between them narrowed, close enough to feel his breath. Then Daniel leaned in, kissing her, slow, deliberate, certain, not to convince anyone, not for appearances, but as a confession of everything left unsaid. Sophia didn't push him away. Instead, she pulled him closer, letting the last wall of pretense collapse. That night, for the first time, they were no longer best friends pretending to be lovers. They were simply themselves, two souls stepping into a love that had crossed the fragile boundary of make-believe. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the curtains, gentle yet merciless in its clarity. Sophia lay on her side, Daniel's face resting inches away. He was still asleep, breathing steadily, one arm draped around her waist, as if it had always belonged there. She didn't regret it, yet beneath that calm, a quiet fear unfurled. If everything changed, would the friendship they had built over years simply vanish? In the days that followed, Sophia tried to bury her emotions. They continued to appear together, continued to play the role in front of family, but the touches, the glances, the silences, everything had shifted. 3 weeks later, on a Monday morning, Sophia stood in the bathroom, her hands trembling as she held the pregnancy test. 2 bright pink lines stared back at her. Her pulse thundered. She tried another test, then a third, all with the same result. Sophia sank onto the edge of the bathtub, burying her face in her hands. Part of her wanted to cry from fear, but another part was overwhelmed by an unexpected peace. A tiny life was growing inside her, the result of the night they had crossed the line. It was a miracle, but also a storm waiting to break. That entire day, Sophia couldn't focus on a single sketch. The same question circled her mind again and again. Should I tell Daniel? She imagined his face when he found out. Surprise, worry, then perhaps a shift into obligation. And that was what terrified her most. She didn't want Daniel beside her out of duty. That evening, a message lit up her phone. "Got a surprise for you tonight. Dress nice." Sophia stared at the text, her heart pulled between warmth and heaviness. She typed, erased, then finally replied, "Okay, I'll be there." In the mirror, her reflection carried a weight she couldn't disguise. Sophia knew she was holding a secret too big to contain. A secret powerful enough to change everything. But tonight, she wasn't ready to speak it aloud. Sophia had never been fond of the surprises Daniel loved to create. He always managed to make things too special, too romantic. And that was exactly what made her heart so vulnerable. That evening, Daniel brought her to a building in Soma. When the elevator doors opened, Sophia stepped into a rooftop glowing with candles and golden string lights. A small jazz band played her favorite tune. On the table, 2 glasses of red wine waited. "Daniel," Sophia whispered, her eyes bright in the glow. "You did all this?" "I wanted a night just for us," he replied, his gaze steady but trembling at the edges. They sat down, shared dinner. Sophia forced her smile, though every heartbeat weighed heavy. Daniel seemed different, quieter, his eyes filled with something unspoken. As the meal ended, Daniel suddenly rose. He walked around the table, then sank to one knee in front of her. "Daniel." Sophia's voice cracked. From his pocket, he drew a small velvet box. Inside, a platinum ring shimmered in the candlelight. "Sophia Lynn," Daniel began, his voice trembling, though his eyes were clear. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know one thing. I don't want a single day without you in it. You're not just my best friend, not just the one who pulls me out of chaos. You're the person I want to wake up beside, the one I want to walk through every storm with. Will you marry me?" Sophia froze, her chest tightening. This was the moment she had dreamed of, the words she had once longed to hear. Yet the secret inside her weighed heavier than anything she had ever carried. Tears welled as she whispered, "Daniel, I need more time." Daniel faltered. Surprise flickered in his eyes, then softened. He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "Is something wrong? Did I do something?" "No, it's not that." Sophia shook her head, forcing a trembling smile. "It's just, I'm not ready yet. Not because I don't want to, but because I need to be honest with you first." He fell silent. No anger, no pressure, just a gaze, sad yet tender. "I'll wait, for as long as you need." Sophia leaned into his shoulder, hiding her tears as the jazz band played softly in the background. Her heart ached. She loved him deeply, but she couldn't begin a life together with a secret still locked inside her. After the night Daniel proposed, Sophia lived in a fragile haze. He hadn't pressed her, only waited in silence. And that silence weighed heavier than 1,000 questions. Inside her, the secret grew day by day, a bomb ticking in her chest, waiting for the inevitable moment to detonate. On Friday afternoon, Daniel appeared at her apartment without warning. He carried 2 steaming cups of coffee and a box of tarts. "Thought you'd forget lunch again," he said, smiling that familiar smile that shook her heart. Sophia was still tied up in a meeting. Daniel wandered the room, pausing at scattered sketches. He stepped into the bathroom to wash his hands. The cabinet creaked open, and a small box tumbled out. Inside, 3 pregnancy tests, 3 undeniable pink lines. Daniel froze. 1 beat. 2. The world collapsed into silence. When Sophia emerged, she saw him sitting on the sofa, the test clutched in his hand, his expression dark. "Daniel." Her voice cracked, her legs weak beneath her. He looked up, his eyes sharp as blades. No smile, no softness. "How long?" 3 weeks, she whispered, trembling. He drew a long breath, fists tightening. "You've kept this from me for 3 weeks?" Tears spilled down her face. "I didn't know how to tell you. I was afraid that once you knew, you'd stay only out of duty, not love." Daniel let out a hollow laugh, rough and bitter. "So your answer was to lie? To let me kneel, put a ring in your hand, while you buried this secret?" "I'm sorry," Sophia choked. "I panicked. I didn't want to lose you." He set the test down on the table, the gesture sharp as if drawing a line between them. "Don't you see, Sophia? It's the hiding that makes me feel like I've already lost you." The silence that followed pressed down like stone. Sophia rushed forward, clutching his hand, her eyes pleading. "Please don't go. Give me a little more time. I'll tell you everything." Daniel stared at her, his gaze a storm, love, hurt, betrayal tangled together. Slowly, he pulled his hand free, shaking his head. "I need time. I can't look at you right now without seeing the lie between us." He turned, opened the door. His tall, steady frame disappeared without a backward glance. No hug, no kiss. Only the echo of the door closing, reverberating through the apartment. Sophia collapsed onto the floor, tears streaming unchecked. The very fear she had fought so hard against had come true at last. And this time, there was no way back. After Daniel walked away, Sophia closed herself off more than ever. She still went to work, still buried herself in blueprints. But Grandma May, who had raised her, could not miss the change. She saw her granddaughter eat less, sit quietly on the porch for hours, her eyes shadowed with hidden sorrow. Sophia said nothing, but Grandma May understood. A woman who had weathered life's storms didn't need confessions to know that something had fractured between Sophia and Daniel. One afternoon, after much deliberation, she picked up the phone and called him. When Daniel heard her voice, he froze. "Daniel," she said slowly, firmly, "I need to see you. Not as Sophia's grandmother, but as someone who has watched my granddaughter suffer each day." They met at a small tea house in Chinatown, one of Grandma May's favorite places. Daniel arrived 10 minutes early. She appeared right on time, calm in her bearing but stern in her gaze. After polite greetings, she set her cup down and asked bluntly, "You still love her, don't you?" Daniel hesitated. He wanted to deny it, but the words caught in his throat. "If you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting here," she said with certainty. Daniel lowered his head, his voice rough. "But she hid from me the most important truth. How am I supposed to believe she really trusts me?" Grandma May sighed, her eyes softening. "She didn't hide because she distrusted you. She hid because she trusted you too much. She feared your love would turn into obligation. She didn't want to see you beside her out of duty. Sophia looks strong on the outside, but she is far more fragile than you think." Daniel fell silent. Images of Sophia came rushing back. The nights she bore the weight of work alone. The times she forced a smile and whispered, "I'm fine." That had always been her way of protecting the ones she loved. His voice shook. "Do you think it's too late?" Grandma May laid her wrinkled but steady hand over his. "Some women walk away and never look back, but others, even in their leaving, still hope the man they love will be brave enough to follow. Sophia is one of those." Daniel lifted his gaze. In her eyes burned a certainty that left no room for doubt. "I'm afraid of losing her," he admitted. "Then don't let fear keep you still," Grandma May said. "If you love her, step forward. If you don't, regret will be all you have left." Her words sliced through the fog, clouding Daniel's heart. He realized his pride and sense of betrayal had held him back, but his love for Sophia had never wavered. As he left the tea house, Chinatown glowed in the golden wash of sunset. For the first time in weeks, Daniel felt clarity. He would not let her go again. After her conversation with Daniel, Grandma May returned home with a heavy heart. She knew both of them were still in love, yet Sophia had closed herself off like a clam. Soon after, her fears came true. Sophia filed for a transfer to the new branch in Los Angeles. "I just want to focus on work, try a new environment for a while," Sophia said, avoiding her grandmother's gaze. But May understood. It wasn't just work. It was Sophia running from a pain she wasn't ready to face. Weeks later, Sophia arrived in Los Angeles. The city greeted her with sunshine and noise, a sharp contrast to San Francisco. She buried herself in the new project, filling every hour so there was no space left for longing. But each night, in the quiet of her apartment, Daniel's face returned with every heartbeat. The grand opening day arrived. The hall glittered with light, packed with reporters, partners, employees. In a simple white dress, Sophia stepped onto the stage, her smile radiant, her voice steady. But to Grandma May, seated in the front row, sorrow lingered behind her eyes. "Thank you all for being part of this journey," Sophia began, when suddenly the tall doors at the back of the hall swung open. A familiar voice echoed, striking her heart. "More important than this, Sophia, is that you were brave enough to walk away, to begin again. But I cannot let you walk away any further." The room fell silent. Daniel, in a black suit, walked slowly down the aisle, his gaze fixed only on her. Sophia froze, gripping the microphone. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" He stopped beneath the stage, voice deep yet carrying through the hall. "I was wrong to let you go. I let fear and pride eclipse the love I have for you. But not today. Not here. Never again." Whispers rippled through the crowd, but Daniel stood firm. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Not the glittering ring from before, but a simple platinum band glowing softly under the lights. Dropping to one knee, his voice rough yet steady. "Sophia Lynn, please don't disappear from my life again. Marry me, not out of duty, but out of love. Out of everything we still have the chance to build if you'll let me." The hall held its breath. Sophia trembled as she stepped down from the stage, tears streaming as she smiled through them. "You fool," she whispered. "I never needed you perfect. I only needed you brave enough to choose me. And today, you did." She extended her hand, and Daniel slid the ring onto her finger. Applause erupted, echoing through the hall. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as though letting go would mean losing her forever. Against his shoulder, Sophia whispered, "Daniel, there's something else you need to know." He pulled back, eyes questioning, tender. Sophia guided his hand to her stomach. "I'm carrying our child." Daniel froze, then laughter burst from him, tangled with tears. Before hundreds of eyes, he bent down and kissed her belly. The hall exploded with cheers, and beneath the Los Angeles sunset, two hearts once broken had found their way back. No longer pretending, no longer afraid, only love that was true, brave, and forever. 3 months after Daniel's public proposal in Los Angeles, Sophia and Daniel decided to marry. Not with grandeur or noise, but with a warm ceremony on the sands of Malibu, where the ocean whispered and the breeze wrapped gently around them. That day, the sky was a flawless blue, white ribbons fluttering in the wind. Among friends, family, and colleagues, Sophia's eyes welled with tears when she saw Grandma May, dressed in a jade green silk dress. Grandma May looked both dignified and tender. Her eyes glistened as she watched her granddaughter in a simple lace gown, her rounded belly carrying the promise of new life. As Sophia walked on the soft sand, hand in hand with Daniel, she whispered, "I look more like a mother than a bride." Daniel smiled, squeezing her hand tighter. "You are both, the bride and the mother I've always dreamed of, and today you are my entire world." When the officiant asked, "Do you vow to spend your lives together?" Daniel answered before Sophia could speak, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Sophia laughed through her tears and nodded. The waves echoed their vows. Grandma May stepped forward, wrapping them both in an embrace. She whispered to Sophia, "Remember, this love was not given by chance, but earned through your courage." Daniel bowed his head with reverence. "Grandma, thank you for believing in us, for giving us a second chance. I promise Sophia will never cry alone again." Grandma May smiled, her tears falling, tears of joy. 2 months later, on a radiant summer morning, their baby girl's cry filled the room. Daniel never let go of Sophia's hand through 10 hours of labor, whispering comfort with every breath. When the newborn cried, they both wept, as though reborn themselves. Between labored breaths, Sophia whispered, "Let's name her May, so she'll always carry the love and strength Grandma gave us." Daniel kissed his wife and daughter. His voice broke as he said, "Welcome to the world, May Carter. You are the greatest gift we've ever received." 2 years later, in their little house by the Venice shore, life was far from perfect. There were sleepless nights, long workdays, moments of exhaustion, but love threaded through it all. One evening, they sat on the porch. 2-year-old May slept peacefully in her grandmother's lap. Sophia leaned her head on Daniel's shoulder, whispering, "It's hard to believe this all began with a fake contract." Daniel smiled, his hand tightening around hers, his eyes filled with warmth. "Because from the very beginning, it was never fake to me." The waves hummed their eternal song, the soundtrack of a love once born from pretense, now turned into forever.